Charlie McLaurin, Landy McNair, and myself had been in Ruleville for maybe a week, and we're walking down this dirt road in Ruleville, a little bitty town, 1,100 people. I think the quarters were the Jerusalem quarters, because, back in those days, these little black communities were basically, I think, descended from slave quarters. So they had these names, quarters. We lived in the sanctified quarters. And we were walking down this dirt road in the Jerusalem quarters. And this car comes to a screeching stop next to us. And out jumps this white man. And he's got a pistol in his hand. And I remember his words, because you remember this stuff. At least I do, because I'm like coming from Washington, D.C., and I'm in Mississippi. And he says, I know y'all ain't from here, and you're here to cause trouble. I'm here to tell you to get out of town. And then he says, now get in this car, niggas. And McLaurin asks him, well, why do we have to get in the car? And he says, because this pistol says so. And he's waving this pistol in front. It's like a cowboy movie, get out of town before sundown. And we get in the car, of course, and he takes us to City Hall, which is where we learned, at least I learned, that it was the mayor, and he owned the biggest business in town, which was the hardware store, and he broadcast the agricultural news on the local radio station. He was the president of the White Citizens Council, and he was the justice of the peace. This is like a real feudal system. You have to understand, McLaurin may have known more about this than me, but from me, I had never encountered anything like this. I'm trying to figure out what universe I've come into. I've gone into the Twilight Zone or something like that. And he's ranting and raving now in City Hall about us being from the outside. I think he calls us New York City communists. And back in those days, after Cuba and China and Russia, New York was the worst kind of communist to be. And he's ranting and raving about that and telling us to get out of town. And I think I remember McLaurin saying, well, we're all from Mississippi. And I was happy to be included. McLaurin was from Mississippi, and Landy McNair was from Mississippi. I'm from Washington, D.C., but I'm just kept my Washington, D.C. mouth shut. We're all from Mississippi. The thing I remember about, and now when he orders us out of the office, McLaurin says, well, you have to take us back to where you picked us up. And my attitude, of course, is I'm quite happy to walk back to where he was picked up, where he picked us up. But McLaurin is really insistent on the point. You got to take us back to where you picked us up. And to my surprise, the mayor took us back to where he picked us up. I asked McLaurin about this later. He said because it was important as people were peeping out of the windows, right? So everybody had seen us get picked up. So it's really important that the people in the community, this black community, this little tiny bitty black community, saw that we had made the mayor bring us back to where we were picked up. So that was my first lesson, literally, about organizing in Mississippi.